All right, let's dive into a really interesting corner of the trading world. We're going to talk about a model that lets traders access huge amounts of capital without having to put up their own life savings. Sounds pretty good, right? But how does it actually work? Let's get into it. So here's the question that keeps a lot of talented traders on the sidelines. You've got the skills, you've got the strategy, you're ready to go, but you just don't have a giant pile of cash to trade with. So what do? How do you get in the game with serious capital? Well, it turns out there's a whole model built to solve this exact problem. And that brings us to proprietary trading firms. This is a totally different way of looking at how to fund a trading career. The whole idea is to shift the focus from how much money you have to how well you can trade. So what exactly is a prop firm? You'll hear that term a lot. In a nutshell, it's a company that fronts the trading capital. They give you their money to trade with, and in return, if you make a profit, you give them a cut. Simple as that. It's a partnership that's all about performance. You know, when you put it side by side, you can really see the difference. The old school way, it's all on you. Your capital, your risk, and yeah, all your profits. But with a prop firm, you're using their capital. Your personal risk is basically capped at whatever you pay for a one-time evaluation. The trade-off? You have to share the profits. It's a fundamental shift in where the risk lies. Now, obviously, these firms aren't just handing out cash to anyone who asks. Before they trust you with their money, you have to prove you know what you're doing. And that leads us to the evaluation process, which is basically a high-stakes audition for your trading skills. So, how do you get started? Well, it usually kicks off with you picking a sample account size you want to shoot for. Then you pay a one-time fee to get into the evaluation. That gets you access to a simulated account where you have to prove you can trade and, more importantly, that you can follow the rules. And this is a super important point. You're not trading with real money at this stage. It's all simulated. But, and this is key, it's designed to mimic the exact conditions and risk rules you'll face if you pass. It's a dress rehearsal for the real thing. All right, let's talk about the rules of this test. Because, well, yes, the goal is to make money. What these firms really want to see is if you can manage risk properly. That's the whole ballgame. First step, the big one, the profit target. To pass this thing, you've got to grow the account by a certain amount. In this case, 10%. That's your goal. Hit that number. But here's where it gets tricky. They've got guardrails. The first is a max daily loss limit. If your account balance drops by more than 4% in a single day, that's it. Game over. You're out. And then there's the absolute line in the sand, the max overall loss limit. This is usually around 6% of your starting balance. If your account ever dips down to that level, at any point, you've failed the evaluation. This rule forces you to be disciplined every single day. So what does this all look like in real numbers? Well, let's just use a sample 6-figure account to make the math easy. Your mission is to make $10,000. But if you lose $4,000 in one day or $6,000 total, you're done. It is a very, very fine line to walk, and the rules are crystal clear. So let's say you do it. You navigate the gauntlet, you hit the profit target, and you don't break any of the drawdown rules. What happens next? Well, you've made it to the main event, the funded account. And this is the moment it all becomes real. You've passed the test, you've proven your skill in the simulation, and now the firm says, okay, you're ready. They hand you the keys to an account funded with their actual capital to go trade in the live markets. So what about the profits? How does that get split? Well, this might surprise you, but the splits can be amazing. Some firms will let the trader keep up to 90% of the profits. Think about that. They put up all the capital and you get to keep the lion's share. It's a huge incentive to perform well. Once you're funded, things can get a little more flexible too. That pressure of a ticking clock, often gone. No time limits, no minimum number of days you have to trade. You also get access to some serious leverage, which can really amplify your trading power. The one thing that doesn't change? You still have to play by the firm's risk rules. Always. And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. This is the core appeal. The prop firm model is all about giving talented traders a way to scale up their operations, a way to control a lot more capital than they could ever afford on their own. It creates an environment where skill matters more than the size of your bank account. So at the end of the day, what are we really looking at here? Is this a true meritocracy, a clear path for skilled traders to prove themselves and get the funding they deserve? Or is it more of a high-stakes, high-pressure test where, let's be honest, the odds are pretty tough? You know, the answer probably isn't black and white. It's a world with massive rewards, but also very unique risks. And whether it's the right path, well, that's something every single trader has to decide for themselves.